but that ignorance is forced. Because anyone who tries to show people that there is indeed a positive behavior for the soul is attacked.
Yes.
You've made a lot of references to the Matrix before. Everyone listening to me here knows perfectly well that I always make this reference. Agent Smith is in everyone. When Neo fights the Matrix, jumping from truck to truck or performing other paranormal feats in that fictional world, bus drivers, garbage collectors, and shoppers are the ones who become agents. Smith attacking Neo. I do make that comparison with people. Today, we're going to talk about the topic of 2020 again. When someone dared to say this inoculation doesn't work, it's all a lie, to experiment with you, mRNA, and so on. The people who heard that information would turn into an Agent Smith and call you a conspiracy-denying nut. You're dangerous. Are you crazy? How can you not believe what the mass manipulation media says? Yes, what do you think about this, Raúl?
Well, I completely agree. I mean, you've described it perfectly, but it follows that logic, right? Manipulation where evil forces excel. Why? Because of spiritual weakness. Why? Of the majority of the population who are susceptible to becoming bots. At the service of those forces just have to press a manipulative button. By the button, I mean a symbolic tool for manipulation. They blow the bugle and the rest start running. And also, let me tell you, it's minimal effort for them. They just act very intelligently. You just need a big loudspeaker or several big loudspeakers to give the order, blow the bugle, and everyone obeys, without questioning. I always say that in any conflict or situation, you must consider both sides. And I've experienced it often, and you probably have too. Most people only listen to one side and ignore the rest. And that's a huge error in judgment, because what it does is turn you into a puppet, at the mercy of the manipulator of the moment, who takes away your will, so you lose your will, and he does whatever he wants with you. I mean, he uses you like a bot. I don't know if you remember in the movie Matrix, by the fourth one, how they've already invented the bots, where the programmer just directly possesses the bodies of people who self-immolate, who throw themselves off buildings, who are used as human weapons. In Kabbalah, that's called Dibuk. Dibuk in Hebrew has the same letters as COVID, but reversed.
And that's how many people sacrificed themselves.
That's how they self-immolated.
But they didn't sacrifice themselves on the material plane. They
sacrificed themselves on the plane of consciousness. Because really, when you blindly believe in the shepherd's speech, and that shepherd actually wants to kill sheep, if you're a sheep who trusts the shepherd, you'll follow all their instructions. But what if you're a black sheep? Like in the case of many, you stop listening to the shepherd when you realize he's leading you to slaughter. This happened simply because it was necessary for people to have that confrontation, to realize who is asleep, who is awake, and what the process of awakening is. No, not because of a confrontation between those who are awake and those who are asleep, but simply to see where you are yourself. I insist it's an individual matter. For example, you have a YouTube channel, you broadcast content. Actually, you're not doing proselytism. You offer it to the world, and whoever wants to follow it will follow it. And whoever doesn't will change the channel. In other words, you're not selling anything. What you do is offer. I offer this knowledge. People will follow you if they want, and if not, they won't, right? That's interesting, since many people who don't follow you can still leave negative comments. Thank you. No, normally, and if you don't want to follow some content or some author or some channel, you simply turn off the television or turn off the channel or change the channel. Thank you. But you don't bother to write a bunch of negative comments like that, right? Those are bots. Those are Smiths, to be clear.
I get one or two from Claro.
But they're people who are completely possessed in a very important part of their mind. They're not aware and they're being manipulated.
I understand. Several things here interest me about this. I think this will continue for a while since I have many questions for you. The question I have for you is the following. Going back to the topic of the source and the EREFRAD, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yes, perfectly.
The goal of these agents of evil, of these EREFRAD, ultimately they can be applied to big corporations. And that these big corporations control all the governments. It's moving away from the source.
Exactly. To keep the spark of the source that dwells within you away from the original source. Why? It serves an important function. Because the moment you get too close to the source, you merge with the source, and then the game is over for you. Maybe you just haven't had time to build merit or develop consciousness yet. So the goal is to move away from the source, to keep yourself away from the source with ignorance, so that you don't merge with the source. That's why the Kabbalists teach that the goal of the forces of evil is to be transformed into good themselves. The goal of the forces of evil is to be overcome, but not just to be defeated or vanquished, but to be transformed. Darkness aims to become light. All the forces of darkness, the 5 that are named in the Zohar, have the sole purpose of being transformed into light.
How can that be achieved?
Well, with the expansion of consciousness of each of the souls that are incarnated here, in this world. In this era, precisely, not in previous times, in this era.
I have a question. What? Do you think that in other times people had less knowledge of mathematics, of science, but were closer to the source?
No, not in the past 6,000 years. The Kabbalists teach, and the Torah teaches, in the book of Genesis, the first one, Bereshit, that the world was created in 7 days, 6 days, and on the 7th, rest. But this is a metaphor to help us understand that each of those days, as the Psalms say, is 1,000 years. And therefore, we will be talking about 7,000 earthly years, just so we understand each other. Right now, we are in the year 5,700, and many, which means in the Jewish calendar, which means that we are already there, which would be on Shabbat, on Saturday. If you count the days of that creation, we are approaching the end of the game. That's why in this era, not another, the highest spiritual consciousness in history is reached. Kabbalists say history spans exactly 6,000 years, no more.
What about the dinosaurs?
All of that belongs to previous editions of the video game of this game.
Yes, they existed or not?
They existed, but I'm not sure if you've seen the series Westworld.
No, well,
Imagine there is a scenario where the programmer has left remnants of previous programming. To save time and resources, since every entrepreneur and programmer ultimately aims to save resources, remnants remain there and appear. But the game, it's 6,000 years, and not one more, 6,000 years, then 1,000 of peace, and then
it starts again.
another different game can start again, but not this one.
Miha, how do you explain that to me? Because honestly, that kind of blows my mind a little. I mean,
Yes, that's what the Torah and what the Kabbalah explain, right? It's something that makes more sense for me to experience personally, rather than trying to convince someone else of anything. I just present what the Kabbalah teaches. But what's interesting is how you internalize whatever is useful to you from what I say to help yourself grow emotionally and spiritually. I always say, don't just believe me, try it yourself.
it's a good phrase. No,
I don't need anyone to believe me. I don't need anyone to believe me. Why? Because besides, they can put you on a pedestal or stab you with needles just the same, with the same ease. So flattery weakens you. Exactly. And the insult often gets magnified. True, because it makes you generate more inner strength. Kabbalah is most important to me. Practice by experiencing it daily. Meditate, study, and improve your conduct. And then you tell me what results you get. Fulfill the
rules you've mentioned.
previously, of course. And then you tell me what results you have. In the end, that's all. The Talmud says that when choosing between action and inaction, always choose to act.